If you're not aware, there has been a huge move rebalance and moveset update in Pokemon Go. So much so that people are getting all sorts of confused, like what happened, what's going on? Well, in this video, I'm going to let you know what has all happened with this moveset change and the move update. What's good, what's bad, of course, Psychic Mewtwo or Psystrike Mewtwo, right? That's the question. So let's get into it. Now to go through this information, we're just going to go through the update note here bit by bit to let you know what's going on. And before I get into it, I do want to give a special shout out to this article here by T Forgery on GamePress, which highlights the PvP Pokemon in more detail. So if you're more interested in PvP, the implications there, this may have more details than what I'm giving you. So link to that. Alright, let's get into it. First off, we have the updates to the combat system. Basically, to summarize this, there was a particular strategy before that hinged on the way that energy and damage was dealt out in PvP that allowed you to overcome some certain disadvantageous situations. And with this update, it's kind of gotten rid of that. I'd say for the majority of players, you're really not going to notice a whole heck of a difference in PvP, but for more hardcore PvPers, I think this is a point of frustration for a lot of them. So that's all you really need to basically know about that. Now, as far as the move changes, this is pretty interesting. So starting out, we got Bubble Beam. Bubble Beam got a huge update in PvP. It is now a consistent attack stat debuffing attack, and it comes pretty early on too. So when Power Up Punch first came into the game, I was all hyped about a debuffing attack potentially coming in the future. We were kind of let down by Acid Spray because Acid Spray comes super late, but Bubble Beam comes early. So the benefit to having a debuffing attack versus a buffing attack is that if you use a buffing attack, you benefit yourself, that one Pokemon. But if you debuff your opponent, you help out your entire team through that. So I think Bubble Beam is an interesting attack that will be able to wear down opponents. As far as the flavor goes, Power Up Punch is the kind of attack that ramps yourself up to just trudge over everything, where Bubble Beam is the kind of attack that'll wear down your opponents. I think this is going to be a huge move in PvP, and I think the main reason why a lot of PvPers aren't buzzing about it right now is because nothing in the Sinister Cup gets it, so it's not the hot topic for this month. But I think Bubble Beam is going to be huge going forward, especially in the General Great League. As far as cool Pokemon that get it, Suicune, Mantine, and Jellicent. Actually, for the Mantine, it is a new addition to its move pool. And with the addition of Bubble Beam, Mantine is now in the number 8 slot in PvPoke for the General Great League, which is pretty freaking good. So if you haven't used a Mantine yet, you may want to try out a Mantine. Do you want to use the Air Slash or the Bubble to supplement the Bubble Beam? I think that depends on what kind of role you want the Mantine to fulfill. Same goes for the secondary charge move, although I am in favor of the Ice Beam. As far as Jellicent comes, it will be the hot new thing in the future. Looking at the future rankings for PvPoke, it is in the number 7 slot. So I think it's going to work out for this role a bit better than Mantine will. Main reason why is because the Flying type does have good resistances, but Ghost type has similar resistances. And the Flying type gives you a weakness to Rock, and it gives Mantine a double weakness to Electric, which I think could work more against it than for it, where Jellicent does not have those types of issues. So I feel like overall Jellicent is going to be the better Bubble Beamer when the time comes. So yeah, but Mantine does have the Flying type, which means certain cups will allow it to show up. So take that for what you will. Try out Mantine if you have it already. Should be interesting. Going on down, we have Power Up Punch, and Power Up Punch did not get a buff. It got a huge debuff. It's gotten its damage sliced in half. It's still as fast, but it's not as powerful. Now, is this that big of a deal for the Pokemon that have it? Now, personally, I feel like this has been a long time coming. Power Up Punch has been too fast and too powerful to be kept unchecked for so long. So I'm kind of glad that it finally got put in its place a little bit. As far as the Pokemon that got it, did they lose a lot? I feel some of the Pokemon lost more than others. So initially I was kind of crying about Medicham, but something I want you to keep in mind about Medicham is that it was good before Power Up Punch was a thing. Power Up Punch just made it insane. Recently, even before the Power Up Punch nerf, Medicham has kind of fallen out of flavor, and the main reason why is because the Deoxys defense form has hit the scene. That guy just does Medicham's job, but better, and beats Medicham. So where's Medicham? Not in the Great League. That's where. So with Power Up Punch getting nerfed, is that a big issue for Medicham? Not necessarily. Pokemon that are feeling this are Pokemon like Poliwrath, ones that don't have a fighting type fast move, because Power Up Punch was their way to boost their own attacks, boost Power Up Punch itself, and maintain fighting type threat with Power Up Punch. The fighting type threat is no longer as there. So using Bubble as your fast move and Power Up Punch to have the fighting type flavor in there, well, the flavor is now lost. So I think for Pokemon like that they're going to be feeling it a bit more than others. As far as the Sinister Cup goes, does this mean Poliwrath is out of the race? Well, no. Poliwrath is still really good. It can beat the Steel types and it can beat the Ghost type Pokemon, even with the Power Up Punch nerf. Now, as far as what move pool you want to use for your Poliwrath, I feel like Bubble is still going to be the way to go. Bubble, Ice Punch with Power Up Punch, because Bubble and Ice Punch is mostly what's doing the work for you. If you are using a Mud Shot Poliwrath, though, I think it's time to drop the Power Up Punch completely and go to Dynamic Punch, because you really do need a heavy-hitting fighting type attack to really make your way as the Poliwrath. Bubble kind of supplemented that a little bit. Mud Shot ain't going to supplement that a little bit. And now finally, we get to talk about Psychic. I'm going to have to put a timestamp here for people because a lot of you don't care about PvP. You just care about the raid content. And Psychic has gotten a huge buff in raid content. It is now a 50 energy charge move for 90 damage. That sounds an awful like Psystrike, right? The Mewtwo that we just went crazy raiding and maxing out and everything because as the ultimate Psychic type attack. Now Psychic is as good? Well, not necessarily. The animation time and the damage window for Psychic is 0.3 seconds slower than it is for Psystrike. So Psystrike is the more superior attack than Psychic is. But Psychic is now really, really good. So if you missed out on Psystrike Mewtwo, you really didn't miss out that much. And all of your Pokemon that were held back because they don't have Future Sight, they only have Psychic, well, they all now have a nice buff. So this is pretty interesting. If you have a Future Sight Espeon, well, time to TM it. Make it a Psychic Espeon. If you got a Future Sight Alakazam, well, I hope you got the Legacy one, which is Psychic. Because if you don't have Psychic, well, then you can't get Psychic. So sorry, Alakazam. The time may be now to put your Alakazams away and just focus on the Espeons, because Legacy Psychic. This is also cool news for Pokemon like Latios. Latios was like, hey, this guy could maybe be a Psychic type, but Psychic sucks. Zen Headbutt sucks. Well, now Psychic's awesome. So Latios can stand out as a Psychic type attacker now. And Metagross too. Metagross was a niche, tanky Psychic attacker. Well, now it's actually a good tanky Psychic attacker because Psychic has gotten the buff. So definitely cool for all Pokemon afflicted by that. And as far as PvP is concerned, Psychic does cost a bit less more now to fire off than it was before. So before, Psychic was like, man, that's way too slow, it doesn't really do a whole heck of a lot. Well, now it's a bit faster, so Pokemon can access it sooner, which means it's much more useful for those Pokemon. Now, I feel overall this isn't that big of a game changer for a lot of more meta-relevant Pokemon, but I feel like in Cups this could be a niche benefit for some Pokemon. For example, the Slow Dudes now have another earlier cost charge move in their repertoire to whip out, which could make them viable in future Cups. And if you don't know about me, I love me that Slowking, and if Slowking can become meta-relevant, that would be very pleasing to me. Overall, I don't think it's going to be that big of a game changer for Psychic-type Pokemon in PvP, though. It's just a much more useful move than it was before. It was like a joke before, now it's not so much a joke. Now it's like, hey, that's actually a good attack. One thing that's interesting, too, with the change in Psychic is Gallade and Gardevoir. So they got Synchro Noise. So for the raid content, Psychic is now just a straight-up better Synchro Noise. As far as PvP goes, Synchro Noise does cost less energy, so I think you're going to want to still use it there. But if you are a raid attacker type minded person, Psychic is now better than Synchro Noise. Does this mean you should TM away your Synchro Noises into Psychic? Well, Niantic has a way of changing things on us when we least expect it. And the Synchro Noise versus Psychic thing may be an oversight of some sort. I think we may see some Synchro Noise changes in the future, personally. That'd keep me from TMing it. But if you are just pure battle type person, you need the best of the best, I'd say get another Gardevoir Gallade and just have a Synchro Noise one that I guess you don't use for raids anymore, and then use the Psychic one for the raids that you want to use it on. I mean, we got better Psychic type Pokemon to use anyways, so I don't see how this is a big issue, but it's like, it's one of those things. It sticks with you. Then moving on down, we have Snarl. Snarl has gotten a upgrade in PvE content and has gotten a rebalance in PvP. So for raid content, it now gains 14 energy per hit instead of 12, which is a clear upgrade, and it's also been added to Weavile's move pool. This means Weavile's best set is going to use Snarl instead of Feint Attack, and all Pokemon with Snarl have gotten a slight bump up in their power because Snarl now is just a better move than it was before, right? Yeah. Now on the PvP side of the force, it has lost 1 damage per turn, but it has increased by 1 energy per turn. So it is now more clearly the energy gaining dark type fast move. So for most Pokemon, this is a upgrade because reaching your charge moves sooner than later is a really big deal in PvP. But I feel like the upgrade isn't that, like, it's kind of awkward. I got mixed feelings about this because before you could use it as a dark type attack to give you dark type damage, but now it's more of like an energy gaining attack to fuel your charge moves. So it's kind of like how Poliwrath used Bubble for water type damage, and then it had Power Up Punch for like the fighting flavor. With this change, it's like you don't have the dark bubble anymore. It's just like, it's like the mud shot. You need your charge moves to really get you through things. So it's kind of an interesting change. Overall, a benefit though. Umbreon is really loving it, so if you don't have a good last resort PvP Umbreon already, I'd say throw your EVs on your shoulders now and get walking towards December. Hopefully we'll have the Community Day revitalization where we can evolve all the different Community Day Pokemon and get their attacks on that one magical special day again this year. Please, Niantic, I'm walking my EVs now. I really need them. So yeah, that is a good idea if you are invested in the PvP. As far as other PvP Pokemon benefiting from the Snarl, I feel like Alolan Muck got an interesting side grade with it. So now you can use the Poison Jab for the high poison damage output with good energy gains, but now you can switch into Dark Mode to fuel your charge attacks a little bit more quickly. So I think it's an interesting like side choice for Alolan Muck, which could come up in cups. This is also a pretty interesting upgrade for Suicune as well, who has Bubble Beam. So now it's got a really fast Bubble Beam. Have you ever had your attack debuffed super quick? Well, you're about to have your attack debuffed super quick now with Suicune, with the Snarl and the Bubble Beam. Additionally, Suicune has Hydro Pump, and now with Snarl it has the second fastest Hydro Pump in the game, only behind the Mudshot Poliwrath. So I feel like there is some interesting variety brewing for the Suicune right now. Is Suicune now a super meta relevant Pokemon in PvP? No, not exactly, not by a lot. But I feel like it now has the potential to actually stand out and be a threat, where before it was just kind of a joke. Then when it comes to future PvP, we got the Scrafty and the Mandibuzz. Both have Snarl. I feel like the Snarl change is going to be pretty big for Mandibuzz, because now it can reach its charge moves faster. It's about being this big bulky terror of a bird. Niantic, for whatever reason, got rid of Sky Attack, so they nerfed it in a really huge way. So I feel like the Snarl is a nice kind of consolation for it. Will it be a super meta relevant burb? Hard to say right now, but Snarl, an upgrade. Now as far as Scrafty is concerned, Scrafty has the Power Up Punch, and I feel like Snarl's change is a downgrade for the Scrafty, because before you had the option of using the good damage, good energy, counter attack, or you could use the good damage, good energy, Snarl for a dark type flavor. Well, now I feel like the dark type flavor has been kind of diminished a bit. Even with the Power Up Punches fueling the Snarl, I don't know. I just feel like it's not as potent as it could have been. And that's even like aside from Power Up Punch getting downgraded in general. So I feel like overall Scrafty did get that side of it downgraded, but the counter side of Scrafty, I feel like that's still there. So Power Up Punch, counter, and then what was it, Foul Play on the Scrafty. I feel like that was the way to go. It had the option of doing something else, but with the Power Up Punch being downgraded and the Snarl kind of being altered, I feel like that has been like removed from the Scrafty. So a little bit less flavor for Scrafty. Scrafty is still going to be awesome, but less flavorful now. Now, aside from the move rebalances, we do have two new attacks in the game. We got Thunder Fang and Ice Fang. So both of these attacks in PvP are like Rock Throw clones, they're Fire Fang clones, they're Bite clones, however you want to word it. Thunder Fang was given to Arcanine, Steelix, and Mightyena and Hippowdon. Ice Fang was given to Suicune, Mightyena, Mawile, Hippowdon, and Drapion. Now, as far as Thunder Fang goes, as far as the T-Fang goes, Steelix is the only Pokemon here that I feel really makes a good use of it. It's an interesting side option for it. So Steelix's other main fast move is Dragon Tail. Dragon Tail has better energy gains, but I feel like the coverage and damage provided by TF could be interesting for it, especially when it comes to the Sinister Cup. In the Sinister Cup, even though Poliwrath has gotten downgraded a bit, Poliwrath is still a big player in Sinister Cup, and TF gives you a way to hit it a little bit harder. It does cause some interesting matchup changes for the Steelix. And one thing that is interesting about it is even though Steelix double resists the T-Fang, and single resists the Dragon Tail, they both do 2 damage, but because TF is more fast, it actually ends up doing more damage as a fast move in the mirror, and this ends up playing out well in the 1 shield to 1 shield scenario, allowing the T-Fang Steelix to overcome the Dragon Tail Steelix. But in the other scenarios, the Dragon Tail gives Steelix enough energy to just win almost every time. So it is just like an interesting change for Steelix. It makes it way more spicy than it was before. Steelix used to be straightforward, now Steelix has the spice. Which fast move is the better fast move? I think it depends on how you want to use your Steelix and what particular cup we're talking about here. As far as Ice Fang goes, I don't think it's that big of a change for Suicune. Suicune now has Bubble Beam, which is cool. It wants to get the Bubble Beam fast. Ice Fang isn't going to do that. It's a low energy gaining fast move. I think it wants to Snarl. So it's an interesting flavor changer for Suicune, but I don't think it's a meta changer for the Suicune. Mightyena doesn't matter. Hippowdon doesn't matter. Drapion could be interesting in some specific cups. Both Mawile and Drapion are like the bite users, right? They want that fast damage. Their charge moves, they don't care about them as much. Drapion does have the Crunch and the Aqua Tail swag going on. So I think for Drapion, this is an interesting change for it. Now it can do Ice-type flavor damage, which Drapion's always been a cup-dependent type Pokemon, so it's going to depend on the cup if this is going to be useful for Drapion. But I think it's a nice addition for Drapion. Could change things up depending on the cup. As far as Mawile goes, Mawile also got Fire Fang. It's got Fire Fang, it's got Ice Fang, it's got Bite. And Mawile has always been this niche little thing of danger, just doing fast move damage at you. And Mawile got another upgrade too. It got Power Up Punch, which is low energy cost, and it will boost those fast move attacks. So I think depending on the cup, depending on how you're using Mawile in these cups, Mawile is just kind of this angry little bean now. It's going to chomp at you. What flavor of chomp is it using? I don't know. And the longer it stays out, the more powerful those chomps are going to become. So Mawile, is it finally a meta-relevant threat? That is yet to be seen. I think in the general Great League, Mawile is still kind of like meh. In the Sinister Cup though, Mawile already had some swag. Mawile may have even more swag now. Oh yeah, and quick note about Thunderfang, even though it hasn't been added to Zekrom's move pool yet, I think we may see this attack on Zekrom in the future. I'm thinking it. Ice Fang though, Kyurem does not get Ice Fang, so it still continues that trend of not getting Ice-type fast moves. Sorry, Kyurem. Nobody cares. You're busted already. Now we come to the moveset changes. First off, we have Alolan Raichu. Thundershock. Thundershock, better than Spark, gives it energy faster, so this is an upgrade for Alolan Raichu. Does this make Alolan Raichu crazy now? Not exactly. It just takes what Alolan Raichu was already doing and it allows it to do it better. So in situations where Alolan Raichu were to work out in PvP, depending on the cup, now it's a more consistent Pokemon. So go Alolan Raichu. Alolan Sandslash got Ice Punch. A-Slash already didn't really matter. Ice Punch isn't really a game changer for it. Sorry, man. Alolan Ninetales with Charm. Once again, just like Alolan Sandslash, Alolan Ninetales isn't that big of a Pokemon. And Charm isn't going to be that big of a game changer for it, I don't feel. So, sorry, Alolan Ninetales. Then we got Golduck. Golduck got like the frickin' trifecta here. We got Bubble Beam, Synchro Noise, and Cross Chop. And for whatever reason, Niantic says that this is going to make it good in the Ultra League. I don't know what they're on, what planet they came from, but I guess Golduck is going to be really annoying to TM now, if you ever want to use Golduck for anything. And I don't think Golduck is meta relevant in any way, shape, or form, even with all these changes. So, I don't know, I might be overlooking Golduck in a really big way, but I don't think Golduck really has the stat line to be good in PvP, and these changes really didn't make it good in PvP. Next up, we got AWAC, and it got Fire Spin and Flame Wheel. So Fire Spin, finally, Alola Marowak has some fire-type flavor to it. So in specific cups, it can now operate in a fire-type role, where before it was condemned to doing just pure ghost stuff. Doing pure ghost stuff is still really good, but now it has fire-type flavor. Now, as far as the Sinister Cup goes, do you want to use Fire Spin or do you want to use Hex? I feel like Hex is going to be the better move for Alola Marowak because you can handle the mirror better, you can handle other ghost types better, and Hex still hits everything for neutral or super effective, depending on whatever the everything you're hitting is, right? So I feel like Hex is going to be the way to go, but Fire Spin could help it out in some key matchups in the Sinister Cup, primarily against Steel-type Pokemon. So, do you need the Fire Spin? I don't think so, but it is a nice addition for Alola Marowak and could make it more interesting in Cups going forward. As far as Flame Wheel goes, I think Flame Wheel is just not effective, really. It costs too much and it does too little. It's worse than Bone Club, and Bone Club is awful, so it's worse than Bone Club. I think that should tell you enough. I think that tells you everything you know about Flame Wheel. Should I use Flame Wheel on my Alola Marowak? No, it's worse than Bone Club. And it's obviously way worse than Shadow Ball is, so... all that Niantic did here was make Alola Marowak more annoying to TM. Yeah, so with all these move pool changes, once again, Niantic has failed to give us a TM rework, and for meta-relevant Pokemon such as Alola Marowak, this is going to make using them that much more annoying, so... Thank you, Pokemon Go, for wasting our TMs even more with this garbage charge move nobody wanted. Then I already told you guys about Mantine with the Bubble Beam. Has made Mantine an insano Pokemon in the Great League. Definitely try it out. Mawile with the 3 Fangs of Justice, Darkness, Fire, Ice, and the Power-Up Punch. I think it's pretty interesting for Mawile. I don't think Mawile's the meta Pokemon of the Great League by any sense, any stretch. But for particular cups, especially the Sinister Cup, this has been a pretty big upgrade for it. And then Weavile with Snarl, already filled you in on that. Faint Attack, go home, we got Snarl now. So more fast TMs. Hope you don't get Ice Shard when you try to TM over to it. So that covers the move pool changes in Pokemon Go. If you got any questions on this content, comment below, let me know what's up, and I'll be happy to help you out. And if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more like it, well then make sure to subscribe to Swag Tips. Wow.